Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. President Muhammadu Buhari orders troops to pursue and eliminate bandits wherever they are in the country as he returns to Abuja after a 7-day visit to his home state of Katsina. Many people, including mourners, feared killed as gunmen attacked 2 communities in Katsina Ala local government area of Benue State. Flood renders many people homeless in Minna, the Niger State capital, and 4 local government areas in Jigawa State following heavy rainfall. And Sudan's military council and civilian opposition coalition put pen to paper on a historical power-sharing deal. For more information on all our top stories, you can go to our website. It's channelstv.com. Remember, youtube.com/channelsweb has all our shows. Corruption, inadequate funding and industrial harmony top the list of priority areas that the Nigerian Medical Association, NMA, as well as the Joint Health Workers Union, JHISU, wants the incoming Minister of Health to address as he leads the health sector in the next 4 years. According to these healthcare practitioners, there is an urgent need for a minister that will carry every player in the sector along, as well as ensure judicious use of resources allocated to the health sector. Ahead of the swearing-in of the new ministers next week, the medical experts are now recommending that President Buhari appoint someone who is not just a medical expert, but one with strong leadership pedigree that can change the nation's healthcare indices for better.
Which date? Which particular date? According to UNICEF, Nigeria has one of the worst healthcare indicators in the world, with a huge burden of an estimated 574 maternal and newborn mortality for every 100,000 live births. The country contributes about 10% of global statistics of maternal deaths. Funding for the sector is also heavily dependent on foreign donations, as annual budgetary allocations by the federal government fluctuates between 3.4 and 5.9% of the nation's budgets from 2011 to 2018. In some cases, the little that is appropriated for the sector is not properly accounted for. Hence, healthcare practitioners want the incoming Minister of Health to pay attention to judicious use of resources in order to change the narratives.
It is important, sir, for the minister and the ministry to look deeply into how money are expended. It is important for the minister to be a good administrator of man and fund.
The incoming minister should look at harmony as a key thing, in addition to corruption. I tell you, funding is a problem, but for us, if you treat these two, corruption and funding, corruption and harmony, the little one we have here will even be used for a greater population.
But corruption and misappropriation of resources are not the only challenges in the health sector that practitioners want the incoming minister to address.
The other aspect I would tell is this: if the minister is coming, he should jettison what the previous sets have planned as a solution to the Nigerian health system, health problem. Look, their plan was that if you privatize, then health can be good. That is the biggest deceit or deception of the century. Whereas the minister is going to take those steps I've stated, the president also should create time to meet with all sides.
One of the major things the next minister must look at is to see how he can make the primary health care center very effective. And this is beyond him. He needs the collaboration of the state government as well as the local government authorities. Because today, go around, you see that the primary health care center that ought to take up to 75% of cases is virtually dead.
Nigeria runs a 3-tier form of healthcare system, which are the primary, secondary and tertiary healthcare structure. However, the abandonment of the first 2 tiers by some states' government have left the tertiary care with an overwhelming pressure. Hence, experts insist that there is a more urgent need for state governments to also step in and take charge of the health of their citizens.
Let's examine this further, and we're now being joined live from our Benin studio in Edo State by a former president of the Nigerian Medical Association, Dr. Osahon Enabulele. It's good to have you join us on News at 10.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here again.
All right, Dr. Sahal, my first question to you. We know a new health minister is expected to be announced next week among other members of the new federal cabinet. What, in your view, should be the new minister's priority in terms of healthcare?
Well, first is to say that whoever is going to be the new minister for health must be convinced that he understands and appreciates the issues that confronts the health system. Because if you lack that appreciation, then you're just going to get it wrong. So the first thing is to commit yourself to a thorough understanding of the issues, the complexity of the challenges, confronting the health system. And then, of course, get to task, by, of course, hitting the ground running. And, of course, to do that, they must be ready to, of course, commit themselves to some very robust, holistic strategic planning. There are issues that they need to engage. The issue of getting greater political commitment to the health sector is very key. What we have found over the years is this situation where our political leaders prefer to use health as an electoral tool. And soon after they're elected into office, they pay lip service to the health issues, to the issues of health, and of course the healthcare services, that are supposed to be attending to. And so they turn the people around into some very sorry appendages of sham reformism. And that must be, of course, put into the old era. And of course, it now needs to show greater political commitment and getting all the players at all levels of healthcare system administration to also be committed to greater investments in the health and well-being of Nigerians. Again, is the issue of operationalization of National Health Act. For a good number of years, we have been calling for operationalization of this National Health Act because it was thought to, and is still a very profound, act that seeks to address most of the challenges befuddling Nigerian health system. But we have not been able to get the best in terms of transparent, sincere operationalization of National Health Act, particularly the area of access to care, the area of quality and standards, the area of regulation, the area of health human resource development. For instance, we'll be talking about brain drain. I mean, it looks like the government is in self-denial, largely, if you look at the utterances of some of the government functionaries. So I expect the health minister to attune itself to the stark reality and existential truth of brain drain phenomenon in the health system. So they need to be able to give some fundamental expression to Section 43D of the National Health Act that obligates them to develop for Nigeria a holistic, robust, forward-looking, and visionary plan for health system, health human resource development in this country, for the whole of the Federation. So they need to be able to address that as people who are going to superintend over the affairs of the health ministry. Again, is the issue of training and development. Nigeria has been paid lip service to training and development of its health manpower. I think the Minister of Health should see that as a major issue it needs to engage. Because even if you put the best of infrastructure in this country, and you have a very demotivated, demoralized, health workforce.
All right, Dr. Enabulele, let's talk about primary health care. It's regarded as a key when we talk about healthcare chain, but over time it's been very difficult to really get it right at that level. Why is this so?
Yeah, it is so because of the poor prioritization of those levels of care. And that was why I talked about deep understanding of the linkages within the health system. The primary healthcare system still remains the bulwark of healthcare systems across the world. And even the World Health Organization today is still pushing that level of care as a fundamental, bulwark, of health system. If a health system has to be seen to be developing well, it is because the primary care system is very robust. So I think the health minister should see it as a major priority, but not to begin to make supplies, because that is not his responsibility, but to encourage the local authorities, the state authorities, to invest more, to show more commitment to the upgrade, maintenance, and development of that level of care. Not just in terms of only the infrastructure, which most times they try to do by saying they build infrastructure facilities so that they can get electoral votes. No, it is beyond that. They need to have all the component parts intact in terms of the essential medicines and drugs, in terms of the health human resource, in terms of the vaccines, in terms of even the managerial system. And WHO is pushing now that, look, it is time for us to begin to even look at the expertise at those levels. Because part of what has demotivated the people or demoralized the people in terms of access to, their confidence in the primary care system is the absence of a physician-led primary care system.
Another thing I think we should look into, the debate for funding is at the root of industrial actions, and that industrial action affects everyone in the country by various groups. Now, how would you want the incoming minister to address this challenge to ensure industrial harmony in this 4 years?
Well, industrial harmony is something that they need to engage. And there's a cornucopia of factors that, of course, gives rise to industrial disharmony in the health sector. One of which is, poor understanding of even the relationships, between professionals in the health sector. The other is the issue of funding that you talked about, because funding also has to do with the whole issue of upgrading infrastructure facilities, the issue of pay, appropriate compensation for work done, and of course, the issue of having, that kind of level of motivation of the health workforce towards, of course, giving, towards producing more in terms of quality delivery of healthcare services in the country. So budgeting has been a major challenge. Like some of the commentators said in your preview, for a good number of years, we have been crying for government to, of course, meet at least the minimum that was prescribed or that they accepted in 2001 during the Abuja meeting of African heads of government. They sat down themselves and accepted that for the African health system to make progress, a minimum of 50% of the national health budget of the various African countries should be devoted to the health sector. Indeed, I remember that even the government of President Muhammadu Buhari, with absolute respect to him, in his first year in office, we were told that they were going to, of course, commit a minimum of 50% of the budget of Nigeria, of the budget of Nigeria, towards healthcare. But 4 or 5 years down the line, we have not gotten even up to 5%. So I think we need to be a bit more sincere in investing more in the health system, because funding is very key towards driving the kind of the expected infrastructural upgrade, equipment upgrade, and getting most of our health facilities and institutions to be at par with other institutions across the world.
That's a good way to stop it. That's a good place to stop it. Thank you very much, Dr. Osao Enabulele. He is the former president of the Nigerian Medical Association. Thanks for your time on the News at 10. Let's talk aviation now. For those who travel by air to Enugu State in southeastern Nigeria, the Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria's latest news release may just be a pleasant news item or even a concern to some others. As FAN today announced that the runway at the Kano IBM International Airport in Enugu will be closed for major repairs from August the 24th. FAN says it has notified airline passengers and all other stakeholders about this decision. According to the statement by the General Manager Corporate Affairs of FAN, Mrs. Henrietta Yakubu, the move is aimed at resolving the existing safety and security concerns to flight operations at the airport. No date has been fixed for the reopening of the airport. There's been concern over the condition of the runway at the airport in recent times. And when the News at 10 returns, former President Olusegun Obasanjo canvasses better implementation of agribusiness policies to ensure food security for the country. That's in Business News. Join us again.